Getting Him Back, a Parable by LateStageInfernalism. I don't want to tell you this story, but I have to. Someone has to warn you. He didn't look right in the coffin. I knew he wouldn't. The funeral home did a respectful job, but they can't bring life back to the dead. Nothing can, or so I thought. The rain that had fallen the week before had frozen and remained, and while the roads had cleared, the land was still in its grip, crunching under my feet as I plodded to the grave. Thankfully, the freeze went no further than a few inches, so the diggers were able to prepare the plot for him. It was too cold to bury such a warm person. The service was quick. No one wanted to linger in the chill, and I was grateful. People I never knew, distant relatives and old school friends, pulled me aside and expressed their condolences. He had told so many people about me. He was proud of me. I barely made it back to my car before I broke down again, a weeping wreck. By the time I started the car and drove home, I was exhausted. The gift had arrived while I slept away the afternoon. It was dark when I awoke and silent out on my little residential street. I never heard anyone approaching. I only found it because I was taking out the trash. A simple parcel wrapped in wrinkled brown paper. I confess that I completely failed to notice the label, or even if it had one. I took it inside, set it on the table, and promptly forgot about it. I suspected that it was a gift from someone close to him. People had wanted to give me things. Money, food, hugs. While I appreciated their intentions, I was in no fit state to accept them. Instead of opening the parcel, I drank myself into a stupor and passed out messily, weeping on the couch. The next week went the same way, a blur of working long hours to distract myself, followed by nights of drinking and weeping. I'm not proud of it, but it is what it is. By the weekend, I had resolved not to drink for a while, so that I could better remember him. My sobriety led me to boredom, which led me to the parcel. So I finally opened it. Inside was a knife, a candle, a small journal, and a note. It was a do-it-yourself kit for something I didn't comprehend. The note explained nothing and everything. It was written in pencil, neat and straight, and anonymous. My condolences on your loss. If you are bold, you might see him again. I read the journal next. I found myself making notes on it as I did. It was written in a confusing sort of Old English, and many of the words were in what I thought could have been Latin or Greek, or even something older, but the diagrams were clear. I was almost feverish by the end. I couldn't have told you exactly how, but I understood. I knew how to perform the rite and what it would do. Mostly. There was no reason to wait, and my fear was washed away by a fresh wave of hope. I put on some old jeans and one of his flannel shirts, then got a flashlight and a shovel from a garage. Thankfully, it's a small town and no one patrols the graveyard. The less said about that crime, the better, but I must explain some of it. I dug 6 feet straight down. I cleared the coffin, opened it up, then jumped out of the hole and threw up. Neither the sickly sweet scent of rot nor his appearance discouraged me. I drew the strange circles and patterns around the grave with the knife, carving the symbols in as expertly as if it were my 100th time, rather than my first. Despite the wind, I lit the candle on the first try, its strange, rich incense filling my lungs. When I started to say the words, they tumbled out of me as if they had lived in my throat for my entire life and only been waiting to escape. I don't have the education to say for certain, but I am almost positive I pronounced them perfectly. I said a prayer to whatever might have been listening. It took only moments to work. He was confused and sick and very much not himself, at first, but he was back. He was alive. He was breathing and warm almost immediately, the rot vanishing as I watched. All of the preservatives and filling of the embalming process were swiftly voided onto the cold earth. I did not dare cut him, but I knew that if I had, he would have bled red blood, not the chemicals that had previously been there. I took him home. I explained things to him as gently as possible. I had no other choice. I am a practical girl. I was overjoyed to have him back, but I knew that our time in this town was over. There was no way I could explain his return, and who knows what a small-town superstition might drive people to do to him. I would not lose him again. Ever. I bathed him, helped him dress, and fed him. By the time he had his 6th glass of water, he was almost himself. Before dawn, I drove us out of town to a small cabin that I had inherited years prior. We could live there, for now. Then I reasoned we would pick a new place and start over. I was so stupid and simple. Not once did I ask why I had received such a gift. Not once did I ask about the price, even though I knew that there must be one. He is himself, you see. He is the man I love, and he still loves me in return. If anything, he loves me better than before. After all, I raised him from the void of death. In the history of the world, how many can say that their lover did that for them? I did not question his long walks, nor why he took them at night. I did not inquire as to the dry remains of squirrels littered around the cabin, nor even the deer carcass that I found shredded in the woods. By the time the first corpse showed up near the road, her face frozen in a rictus of terror, I wasn't even surprised. I knew that he had no control over himself. The things he did instinctively, without malice, like any other predator. It's part of his nature now. The journal spoke of undoing this magic, but I won't make that choice. I can't. I will never lose him again. And if a few people have to disappear every year to keep us together, then so be it. If I am a monster, then let it be said I am a monster for love. I do not write this as a confession. I am guilty, but not ashamed. I could not have chosen differently in my grief and loss. If I went back in time, the only thing I would do differently would be to open the parcel sooner. That is why I issue this simple warning. If you lose a loved one and receive a gift such as I did, do not open it. Throw it out. Forget it ever existed. Grieve in safe and virtuous ignorance. Because if you are like me, then by the time you open it and understand its contents, it will be too late.